a little break after building these monstrosities behind me. You know, I needed a couple days of R&R before I started on the rebuilds, and then I had to get sick for a week. So here we are 2 weeks later, and the double DIY builds are still going great. There's been a lot going on here. There'll be a lot of follow-up videos. You'll see why I went from these guys to this guy. So yeah, that makes life a lot easier when you're dealing with plants in a deep tank. Now, of course, everything behind me in the 600 and the 750, they came from other aquariums. They came specifically from the 220 and the 125/180, if you count the giant sump that's underneath there. And we need to rebuild those tanks, you know, redo them, not rebuild them, but rescape them, restock them back up. And that's what this series is right here. This is part one of the double rebuild series. So we already know that 220 is going to be Amazonian Islands, Discus, Tetra, another Amazon tank. Hey, Amazons is awesome, right? It deserves more than just a couple tanks. Well, let's get another one. Now the other tank, the 120/180, now that's a secret tank. You don't know what's going in there. I've never really kept these before. I kept some of them when I was in high school in a 30-gallon. Didn't go that well. Didn't know what I was doing. Things have changed. We're going to give it another shot. We're going to try and do a much better job of it, and it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be merging of two things that are in reality right next to each other, probably connected, but never really represented in aquariums. So I'm going to give it a shot, and we'll see how it looks and how it works. But so that's what's coming up in this video, and as well as the deep dives and some more of these videos on these aquariums behind me, we got to touch back on the saltwater side. There was an incident in Predator Bay, and I'm going to cover that in an upcoming video here, because I had to take some, let's just say there was an incident and I had to make some changes. So we're going to cover that. Probably, we'll see how it goes, but you know, maybe we'll cover that by itself. Maybe we'll throw it in with what's going on with the other tanks, because there's stuff going across the whole saltwater side of the house. You know, I took a little break from that when I was building these guys, but now I'm back to more evenly distributing my time to both sides of the house, fresh and salt. But with no further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and let me show you what we're going to do for these two rebuilds. Okay, let's start first with the plan for the 220-gallon Amazon flooded forest build. Yeah, this is the aftermath of tearing down the old tank and moving all the fish over into the 750. And let's see, what are we going to do? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the lights all sorted out. I want to try something where I have to cover my tanks, because I have a lot of tanks for evaporation. But I also love the shimmer, so I'm going to cover them with the tops that I always use, these guys down here. But the plan is to cut some circular holes and then sort of push the lights down, sort of, you know, like right over the hole. And so I'll block most of the evaporation and humidity from the tank, but hopefully I'll still get the shimmer. Because the way this new design is going to be, it should work with how the plants are going to be oriented to where they're getting enough light, and I can get the shimmer, and there'll be the right amount of coverage. You know, obviously you can always flex with, or you know, move the light up and down a little bit to, you know, accommodate the best scenario there. But so that's going to be the plan, and overall what we're going to do, we're going to clean all this out. We're going to get the water down. We're going to keep the sand in there. We're going to introduce some new sand, clean that up a little bit. And then we're going to build a river embankment in the back, and we're going to use a tunnel system similar to like we did in the 600-gallon, but it's going to be going from left to right across the back. We'll build that up with rock, different layers, just like the 600-gallon, and then we're going to have a planted back, but that planted back is not going to be your big, tall background plants. It's going to be shorter plants, and the reason for that is this is flooded forest. There's going to be wood coming down all over the place, like that we're looking at, you know, either miniature trees if you have a really good imagination, or a root system. You know what I mean? Probably more likely what it would look like in nature. So we're going to do that, and we're going to give a lot of area for those discus to go in and out of all that. So we're going to keep the plants low in the back and low in the front, but we're going to have plenty of areas of sand because it's an Amazonian tank, and we need to have some good sand sifting fish down there. So that's the plan for the 220. Oh, I almost forgot. We're going to completely redo the sump. So I built this sump in my driveway about 15 years ago out of a sheet of acrylic, and I'll tell you what, it's lasted. It's always worked. It's about 30 gallons of water. but it's just not big enough for this tank. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and frame out the entire inside of there, and we're going to build your typical aquarium main style sump, except for in the first chamber, we're going to keep using this guy here. I'm going to take this tower out, and it'll be sitting, you know, elevated above the first chamber, and then we'll just keep using the same overflow and everything. We're going to redo the return. We're going to get rid of just that little nozzle, and I'm going to build a spray bar because I want to create a lot of agitation on the surface of the water just to create tons of shimmer from these kessels with those holes I'm going to cut and let that light straight through. I want the shimmer on max effect for this aquarium with all the wood coming down and the light shimmering through it. It should be amazing, but I want to keep the water flow down. I don't want to be blowing these discus all around. So we want to have lots of water flow, but not like the power head where we're just creating a ton of circulation. We'll have circulation, but we want to spread it out across. So rather than a single source or a smaller source like this, we want to do a bar where it's spread evenly across the whole top. So we have all that to do. We have to redo the sump, and since we have so much work here with redoing the sump and everything, probably what will happen is the 125 will be up first because we already have all the filtration, everything good to go there in the lighting. Well, let me take you over and show you. Okay, the top secret tank, the 125/180. We've kept the filter going. We're all ready to go here. What we're going to do is much less work to go here. We're just going to take the substrate here, clean it up. We're going to mix in some sand with this Eco Complete substrate. So we're going to have like a brown sand mixed with this black Eco Complete. So it should be interesting. And then we're going to build up the aquascape and fill this guy back up. And because I keep cycling media on this, as well as water from the other builds, we should be good to go to stock this right away. So we have quite a bit of materials here. We have lots of large rocks, lots of medium rocks. We have some filler buildup. That's actually for the 220. And then I have, well, let me bring it over. And then I have a bunch of the smaller river stones. So for this build, we're going to be using the smaller river stone, the medium, and the large. And we're going to be using some wood that I've, well, I really haven't used this exact wood before, and I haven't used it in the way I'm going to use it here. So it's going to be a unique look to this aquarium, and it's going to be a unique aquarium because it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be bridging two bodies of water that most people wouldn't think actually touch. I believe they do, and I believe that we can recreate that to some degree, at least close enough. You know, we don't do biotopes here, we do biotypes. You know, they're inspired by various bodies of water. They are realistic in that sense. You know, no sunken battleships with divers going up and down. We do naturescapes here because we do nature aquariums where we want the aquarium system to, as much as possible, run itself. We want to do few water changes because there's a lot of tanks here, and I can't spend all my time doing water changes. So we want to build up systems that between the plants, the large sumps, the proper fish stocking loads, and deep substrates, and basically the cultivation of bacteria, different types of bacteria, and letting them do their job, that we create ecosystem aquariums that can, you know, largely sustain themselves. They really can. They do require some work. All these tanks do get, you know, 3 to 4 water changes a year, but that's far fewer than I believe most people do when they have a more typical setup where they're just more focused on mechanical filtration and less so on bacteria and live plants. So they're less focused on nutrient export and more focused on mechanical export. So we go the opposite way here. Obviously it takes more room. It takes big ugly sumps like that, which, you know, certainly could be done pretty. Some people have asked, you know, how come you don't do this like you do the aquariums, you know, fiberglass it, paint and all that. And it's just cost, you know. It costs a lot more to do that. It takes a lot more time. And the reality of it is, you know, you've been watching this channel for a year and I still haven't done it, so you're going to say, yeah, right. But I am going to put facades on these, you know. Like I did over on the end walls, there, you know, there is going to be a facade here, so you won't see that. It will eventually look beautiful, but that day will come. But until then, you know, it's functional. It gets the job done, and it's efficient. And again, you know, we reuse package. You know, we use the crates from the glass comes in. Same thing's going to happen with the 220. Be reusing wood, reusing everything. I got a big liner. I'll cut another piece out of it. So we just want to be efficient and keep the cost down. All right, well, let me go ahead and jump into this. The 125 build. Let's get the substrate in there and start building up the hardscape. I think once you see that first pass at that, it'll kind of give you an idea of what we're shooting for here. All right, there's the hardscape, or at least the main part of it. So it doesn't show up that well right now, but the sand is mixed in with a whole bunch of Eco Complete that was in there before, which is black. So once the water's in there, it settles in, it should give it a mottled look. Should be interesting. And then, of course, we've got some rock formations, some smaller ones here we built up over here. And then we have this wood root jammed in everywhere. And that is both to make it look natural and also to give me tie-down points for plants. So this is going to be another one of those ones where the plants are growing all over the rock work like in Amazonian islands, and we're going to keep the sand bed nice and clean because the future, the fish that are going to live in here in the future are going to want to be doing a little digging and stuff like that. So to give you guys a little hint on what this ecoscape is about here is this is where a tributary is going to meet a large lake, and there's going to be fish that live in the tributary and fish that live in the lake, and they're kind of meeting here. Anybody who's ever lived someplace where there's tidal flow, there's a large body of water, and then the water flows in to a smaller river, like with the tides and everything like that. So this is kind of that area, and it's from a particular part of the world where there's some very famous lakes and rivers as well. But at any rate, those are going to be the fish going in here, and for once, the plants are actually going to be from the exact location that the, well, I shouldn't say exact, from the general location that these fish are coming from. So normally everyone's like, hey, how come we don't have some plant that grows deep in the Amazon? It's like, well, because you can't get it. But finally here we got ones that actually do match up perfectly, or pretty close perfectly, with the aquarium. So this is a river tributary, and if you can imagine, it is meeting a lake, and that's what the fish are going in here. So it should be interesting. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to fill it up with water, and then the next steps after that would be obviously getting the plants and the fish. But I want to get it filled up with water and get it running right away because this system is established. So I want to keep that going. So time to get it filled up and crank back on, and we'll take a look. Okay, there's the completed hardscape for the new, well, I can't give you the name yet because it'll give it away, but for the new 125 gallon rebuild. So as you can see, lots of, sort of similar to Amazonian islands, you know, putting the wood underneath the larger rocks and the medium rocks, kind of creating some areas under there for the fish to go through, and lots of area to tie down the plants that are coming. So this tank is going to move really fast because it was mostly already here. I had the hardscape on hand, and I've already ordered the plants and the fish for this aquarium, and I've been cycling out the media and the sump with my other freshwater aquarium. So we've got bacteria built up in here, so it's going to move very quickly. The 220 gallon flooded forest, Amazon flooded forest, is going to take a little longer because there's a lot more rescaping going on there, and I don't have the fish and plants on order. But this one will go out really quick. So in part 2 of these rebuild videos, you know, this will probably be done, and then I'll give it its own video. But as you can see, hardscape's in place. And what I want to show you is what the lighting is. So the reason I have a lot of the Kessels is I really love the shimmer effect, but a lot of times when you put these tops on, you lose that. So what I've done this time is I've cut a hole in the middle. And that was my first attempt at cutting the hole in there. I wasn't holding it down well, so it didn't look that great. But and the other ones, they look a lot better. And what that's doing is it's not 100% as much shimmer, it's just wide open, but it's still a lot better than without having that hole. And I figure what I can do is rather than have the slots in the front or the back, I can just feed through the hole and then still get most of the tank covered to keep the evaporation down. So that's the plan. Use the twin wall polycarbonate panels with a hole cut in the middle so to let the light through and keep the shimmer as good as possible. And I'm going to do the same thing on the flooded forest build as well. Okay, so that does it for part 1 of the double rebuilds. By the next time you see this aquarium in part 2, it'll be done. It'll have the fish, it'll have the plants. You'll know which part of the world that I'm trying to recreate here, and you know the bodies of water that are merging, and it'll all make sense once you see the fish. So at any rate, you'll see that in the next part of this, and then also it'll have its own video since it's like a new release, it's a whole new tank. We'll mainly focus on the flooded forest in part 2, and who knows, maybe it can take it all the way to the end. We'll see. A lot of the pieces are coming together, so it's come a long ways, and I think I have everything lined up to take it all the way through. We'll find out. And like I said at the beginning of the video, definitely, I think probably the next video is gonna be on the saltwater side of the house to let you know what went down with Predator Bay, and then depending on how that whole thing goes, we'll dive into some of the other stuff happening on the saltwater side. And then of course we've got follow-up videos on the double DIY builds, you know, the 600 gallon with clear water, all that good stuff. And we got new fish coming for the 750 Amazonian Islands. And now the weather's getting warmer. It's time to start on the top of the 300 gallon or 3,000 gallon and getting that all reconfigured for new fish there. So plenty of stuff going on, but looking forward to getting these guys in there and the 220 going, because I think that one's going to be really cool, and well, I think this would be really cool too. So looking forward to getting both these tanks back online. All right, thanks for watching.